I never imagined that moving into what looked like a peaceful, picture-perfect neighborhood would turn into a nightmare that nearly cost me my health and my sanity. But that's exactly what happened the summer I moved into Sycamore Heights. It started out so promising. The place had immaculate lawns, well-tended flower beds, and white picket fences. A real-life American dream, or so I thought. The homeowners association seemed like a formality, just a few guidelines about lawn care and mailbox color. But I quickly learned that the HOA was ruled with an iron fist by a woman who redefined the term neighborhood tyrant. Her name was Karen Whitfield. Karen was the self-appointed queen of Sycamore Heights. She'd been the HOA president for 8 long years, and she wielded her authority like a weapon. I'd heard the horror stories before, some whispered at backyard barbecues, others shared in hushed tones over the fence, but I hadn't fully grasped the extent of her power trip until she set her sights on me. It started small. A note on my door because my garbage cans had been visible from the street for, wait for it, 10 minutes too long on collection day. Then came the notice about the trim color on my house being the wrong shade, Navajo white instead of creamy eggshell. And don't even get me started on the holiday decorations fiasco. I tried to play by the rules at first, hoping to fly under her radar. But no matter how many boxes I checked, Karen always found something to nitpick. She drove around in her white Lexus SUV, complete with a personalized HOA boss license plate, brandishing her clipboard like a badge of honor. She even carried a measuring tape like some self-deputized building inspector. I soon realized that no one wanted to challenge her because those who did often found themselves buried in a blizzard of violation notices, fines, and threats of legal action. Karen thrived on the power trip, and the rest of us were too exhausted, or too intimidated, to push back. But then came the package box. I travel a lot for work, and I'd had a string of package thefts that cost me time and money. After a particularly frustrating incident where a delivery with crucial medication vanished, I decided enough was enough. I invested in a small, secure package box that matched my house perfectly and bolted it near the front door. Problem solved, right? Wrong. 3 days later, I came home to find a violation notice taped to my door, official HOA letterhead and all, unapproved exterior modification. Remove immediately or face daily fines of $100. Annoyed but determined to do things by the book, I submitted a retroactive approval request to the HOA Architectural Committee, complete with photos, specs, and a polite explanation. Amazingly, the committee approved it. I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, I could coexist peacefully in this Stepford nightmare. But I'd underestimated Karen's need for control. At the next HOA meeting, she overrode the committee's approval using something she called her emergency powers. Yes, she actually said that with a straight face, like she was some dictator in a dystopian novel. I approached her afterward, trying to reason with her. Karen, I really need this box. My medication deliveries, these aren't regular prescriptions I can pick up anywhere. They're specialized and have to be delivered. She gave me that smirk I'd come to hate, a smirk that said she relished every second of this power trip. Rules are rules, she said dismissively. If we let you have your little box, soon everyone will want one, and then what? Our community aesthetic will be ruined. Besides, you can just pick up your medications like a normal person. I took a deep breath. Karen, these medications are specialty prescriptions that can't be picked up locally. I need them to manage my condition. Without them. She cut me off with a condescending smile. That sounds like a you problem, not an HOA problem. I couldn't believe it. My health was at stake, but she refused to budge. I decided to stand my ground. The committee had approved the box, and I wasn't going to let her bully me into submission. I refused to remove it, and true to her word, Karen began issuing daily fines. 2 weeks later, I got a certified letter. The fines had ballooned to $1,400, and I was given 48 hours to pay up and remove the box, or further action would be taken. At that point, I decided enough was enough. I hired a lawyer who specialized in HOA disputes. He reviewed the bylaws and confirmed what I already suspected. Karen's so-called emergency powers weren't even in the HOA documents. The Architectural Committee's decision should have been final. My lawyer fired off a strongly worded letter to the HOA board, explaining that Karen was overstepping her authority. I thought that would be the end of it. I couldn't have been more wrong. The next day, I had to leave town for a 3-day business trip. I made sure everything was perfect. Lawn mowed, garbage cans hidden, no violations in sight. My monthly medication delivery was scheduled during my trip, but I wasn't worried. That's what the package box was for after all. When I got home late Friday night, something felt off. I walked up to my front door, and my package box was gone. Not opened, not tampered with, gone. In its place was a violation notice laminated against the rain, stating that the HOA had exercised its right to remedy the violation. I was livid but too tired to deal with it that night. I figured I'd retrieve the package from the HOA office the next day. But the next morning, no medication, no package at the office. And of course the HOA office was closed for the weekend. Panic started to set in. I checked the tracking and saw that the package had been delivered 2 days earlier, while I was out of town. I searched around my property, hoping the delivery driver might have hidden it somewhere. Nothing. My mind was racing. That medication was critical for my health. Missing even a single dose could be dangerous. I had no choice but to go to the one person who might know where it was. Karen. I walked over to her house, determined to keep my cool. She answered the door in a tennis outfit, racket in hand. Before I could speak, she gave me that same smug smile. Oh, that package? It was sitting out there for days, creating an eyesore, and probably attracting thieves. I disposed of it. My blood ran cold. You disposed of my medication? Do you have any idea how serious that is? That's not just a package. Those are controlled substances I need to function. They cost over $1,000 and I can't just get them replaced. Her expression hardened. You should have thought of that before violating our community standards, she snapped. Besides, I did you a favor. If you're getting mysterious packages delivered, who knows what's really in them? For all I know, you're running some sort of drug operation. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Karen, it was clearly marked with pharmacy labels. You had no right to take my property, let alone dispose of it. She crossed her arms defiantly. Take it up with the board. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a tennis match. She started to close the door. I put my hand out, gently but firmly, to stop the door. Karen, this is serious. Where did you put it? Her eyes widened theatrically. Are you threatening me? Remove your hand from my door immediately, or I'll call the police. She practically shouted, her voice loud enough for the neighbors to hear. I stepped back, realizing how quickly she'd flipped the script. I'm not threatening you. I just need my medication. This is about my health. She glared at me. I already told you I disposed of it. Maybe next time you'll think twice before breaking the rules. Then she slammed the door in my face. I stood there stunned. My medication was gone. I was facing at least 2 weeks without it, if I could even get an emergency refill authorized. I called my specialty pharmacy in a panic. Sarah, the pharmacist, was horrified when I told her what happened. Wait, someone deliberately took and disposed of your medication? That's not just inconsiderate, that's illegal. Tampering with prescription medication, especially the type you're on, is a serious offense. Until then, I'd been so focused on my own health that I hadn't considered the legal implications. Sarah's voice was firm. First, we need to report this to the police. This is theft, and possibly tampering with a controlled substance. I'll document everything from our end, including the delivery confirmation. And don't worry about the refill. In situations like this, we can request an emergency override from your insurance. That gave me a flicker of hope. I filed a police report that afternoon. The officer seemed skeptical at first, probably thought it was just another petty neighbor dispute. But when I showed him the violation notices, my lawyer's letter, and the delivery confirmation from the pharmacy, his expression changed. He took detailed notes and promised to investigate. The next morning, Sunday, I was still trying to process everything when I heard a commotion outside. I looked out the window and nearly dropped my coffee. Karen was being led away in handcuffs, still wearing her Sunday church dress, escorted by 2 uniformed officers. A small crowd had gathered on their lawns to watch the spectacle, some not even bothering to hide their smirks. Sarah, the pharmacist, had come through for me. She'd given the police documentation proving the medication was a controlled substance, which elevated the case from petty theft to something much more serious. When the police questioned Karen, she apparently admitted to taking the package, but claimed she'd thrown it in the dumpster because she thought it might be drugs. The dumpster had already been emptied, so the medication was gone. Karen was charged with theft, tampering with mail, and interfering with the distribution of controlled substances. Because my medication required special handling, what might have been a minor theft charge became a serious criminal case. The police also found other stolen packages in her garage, belonging to other neighbors. I wasn't her first victim, just the first one with a medication that carried legal consequences. The district attorney decided to make an example out of her. Karen ended up pleading guilty to reduced charges, but she still had to pay a $5,000 fine and serve 2 years of probation. She was also ordered to pay restitution for the medication and other stolen packages. The cherry on top? The HOA board called an emergency meeting the following week. Karen was unanimously voted out as president, stripped of her power trip at last. As she left the community center, she looked like a shell of the smug woman I'd confronted days earlier. She couldn't even meet my eyes. "I never thought they'd actually arrest me over a stupid package," she muttered as she walked past. "It was just a box." But to me, and to everyone else she'd bullied, it was so much more than that. It was the final straw that broke her reign of terror, and gave the rest of us a fighting chance to reclaim our lives from the clutches of HOA tyranny. And it proved that sometimes, even in a quiet suburban neighborhood, justice really can catch up with the self-appointed queens of the cul-de-sac.